Welcome back to Bookcast, Bestsellers in Minutes.
Ready for another deep dive?
You know it. Today we're going to be looking at Ali Hazelwood's Deep End.
Ooh, fun.
It's been getting a lot of attention in the romance world, and we're going to see why.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this one. It's such a great blend of, competitive sports, sizzling chemistry, and some thought-provoking exploration of trauma and healing.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting how Hazelwood manages to do that, like fit all of that into a fast-paced romance that you don't want to put down.
Definitely. It's such a page-turner.
So let's set the scene. Stanford University,
Okay.
a pressure cooker of achievement. And that's where we meet Scarlett, our protagonist.
Oh, right.
She's this incredible diver, but she's haunted by this horrible accident. It left her with a lot of injuries.
Yeah, like what kind are we talking about?
I mean, like everything. Concussion, ruptured eardrum, twisted neck,
Oh, wow.
the whole works. Labral tear, pulmonary confusion, sprains.
And this all from like one accident.
Yeah, one really bad accident.
Wow.
But these injuries aren't just physical for her.
Right. They definitely represent something deeper, like a shattered sense of self, almost.
Exactly. So her journey in the book is as much about physical recovery as it is about, like, piecing herself back together.
Right. Like emotionally and mentally.
Yeah, and I think that's where the deep end of the title comes in, because she's terrified of inward dives.
Which is kind of a big deal for a diver.
Yeah, but it's not just the fear of the physical act. It's about confronting the trauma of her past. That accident that, like, shook her to her core.
Yeah, it's like every time she tries to do an inward dive, it's like she's facing that accident all over again.
Totally. Now, Scarlett's past trauma isn't just the accident. We learn about her relationship with her father,
Okay.
who was very controlling and manipulative.
Oh, so that's rough.
Yeah, and it really left her with this aversion to yelling
Mm-hmm.
and a really complex relationship with authority.
Which makes sense. I mean, especially given her chosen sport. She's constantly working with coaches and judges,
Exactly.
people in positions of authority.
Yeah?
So it's like her past is informing how she interacts with those people in the present.
Yeah, and how she approaches relationships in general. It explains why she's kind of awkward with romance at first, and why she's drawn to partners that show a certain level of control.
It's almost like she's subconsciously trying to reclaim that sense of agency, that was taken from her.
Yeah, and then enters Lukas, the Swedish Olympic swimmer.
Okay, the heartthrob.
Total heartthrob. He's disciplined, ambitious, and also pre-med.
Whoa, talk about a power couple.
Right. But their relationship starts in the most unexpected way.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does it start?
So Lukas has this ex-girlfriend, Pen, and she's the one who suggests that they sleep together.
Wait, really?
Yeah, she even uses this phrase, the sandwich.
Oh my God.
It was this awkward moment at a barbecue.
Oh.
Pen's totally drunk and just blurts out this idea.
That's hilarious.
It's so awkward. But what's interesting is Lukas's reaction.
Okay, yeah, what did he do?
He's totally calm and collected, almost amused by the whole thing.
Wow, that's interesting. It says a lot about his personality.
It really does.
It seems like he's a very in control kind of guy.
Yeah, like he's used to being in control, not just with swimming, but in every aspect of his life.
Yeah, I can see that.
And this control extends to his personal preferences, too. Like he's into BDSM,
Okay.
which he had been exploring with Pen.
And how did she feel about that?
She wasn't really into it,
Oh.
but he never pressured her, always respected her boundaries.
That's good, at least. But it makes you wonder, how couples figure that out when their desires don't necessarily line up.
Yeah, it's not about the kink itself in this case, but more about what it reveals about consent and how they communicate their needs.
Right, you have Scarlett who wants control, and Lukas who seems to embody it, and it just creates this really interesting tension.
Definitely. It's a recipe for some serious sparks.
And within that tension, I think Hazelwood is exploring the complexities of healing and self-discovery. For Scarlett, her relationship with Lukas becomes about finding that sense of agency within a framework of control and consent.
Which is a really difficult thing to do.
Especially for someone who's experienced the kind of trauma that she has.
Yeah, and their connection grows even stronger against this backdrop of competition.
Right. I remember both athletes, and they're both pre-med. So they're constantly pushing each other
To be their best.
to confront their limits.
Intense.
But it's not all competition and intensity. Hazelwood also includes these moments of vulnerability and tenderness. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it shows the human side of these characters, like when Lukas helps Scarlett with her coding, or when they bond over their passion for medicine.
Yeah, those moments are important. They allow Scarlett to see Lukas as more than just this dominant figure.
Right, she sees his intelligence, his compassion.
His desire to support her.
Yeah, and not just in the pool. He even offers to write her a letter of recommendation for med school.
Wow.
It's like He sees her potential even when she doesn't. That's really sweet.
It is. It's really heartwarming.
And that's what makes the relationship so interesting. It's not just the physical attraction or the BDSM aspect. It's about two people who are really helping each other heal and grow.
Yeah, and becoming the best versions of themselves.
Exactly. And don't forget, all of this is happening against the backdrop of this intense competition.
Right. Not just from other athletes, but within their own team.
Exactly. There's this whole other layer of tension coming from Penn, Lucas's ex. She's still struggling with her feelings for him. And then you have Carissa, this super intense diver who has a history with Penn.
Oh, yeah, Carissa.
And she seems determined to make Penn's life miserable.
That whole rivalry was intense.
It really was.
But it added a lot of drama to the story.
For sure.
But you know what I found fascinating? Even though Carissa seems like this fierce competitor, almost a villain at times,
Yeah.
Hazelwood still gives us these glimpses of her vulnerability.
Right, like she's not all bad.
Yeah, it's like we see those cracks in her armor, the insecurities that are driving her need to win.
It's a good reminder that even the most confident people are often battling their own demons.
Totally, no one is immune to self-doubt.
Especially in a high-pressure environment like Stanford.
And then there's that whole duping scandal that rocks Penn's world.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Talk about a curveball.
That was rough.
It really tested her strength and her friendships.
It's heartbreaking, too, because she's falsely accused.
Right.
And it's during this time that we see Scarlett's loyalty and compassion.
Yeah, she really steps up to support Penn, even though her own relationship with Lukas is kind of complicated by the whole situation.
It's really a testament to the power of female friendship.
Yeah, like they can lean on each other even when things get tough.
And it's through this ordeal that Penn starts to confront some hard truths about herself.
Yeah, like what she really wants and who she can really rely on.
Exactly.
It's easy to get caught up in the romance and the drama, but one of the most important takeaways from Deep End is the power of vulnerability and honesty.
I agree.
Not just in romantic relationships, but in all relationships.
Absolutely. Think about Lukas. He could have easily kept his interest in BDSM a secret, but he chooses to be open and honest with both Penn and Scarlett.
And even though it leads to some awkward moments,
It definitely does.
it also allows for a deeper level of trust and understanding.
Exactly. And Scarlett, despite her fear of vulnerability, she slowly starts to open up to Lukas.
Yeah, she shares her past trauma with him and lets him see her deepest fears.
And that's when the real healing can begin, when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable. That's when we create the space for genuine connection and growth.
But it's not always easy.
Of course not.
There are setbacks and misunderstandings, moments of anger and resentment.
Like when Penn lashes out at Scarlett and Lukas.
Yeah, accusing them of betrayal.
It's a really raw and emotional scene.
It highlights the unintended consequences of their actions.
Even when those actions are driven by good intentions.
Right.
And Lukas realizes he needs to be more honest with Penn about his feelings, even if it means hurting her.
It's not just about being honest with others, but also with ourselves.
Exactly. All of the characters in Deep End are grappling with this idea of self-discovery.
Figuring out who they are and what they truly want.
And it's not always a pretty process.
Definitely not. They make mistakes, they hurt each other, they doubt themselves.
But it's through these struggles that they ultimately learn and grow.
They start to understand the importance of setting boundaries, of communicating their needs, and embracing vulnerability as a strength.
Rather than a weakness.
And let's go back to Scarlett and her inward dives.
Okay.
As she gets closer to Lukas, as she learns to trust him and herself, her progress in the pool mirrors her progress in healing.
It's a really clever parallel.
Those dives become this physical manifestation of her emotional journey.
And when she finally nails those inward dives at the NCAA championships,
Yeah.
it's not just about winning. It's about conquering her fear and proving to herself that she's stronger than she thought.
And the fact that Lukas is there to witness it all.
To share in her triumphs.
It's so moving.
It really is.
It speaks to the power of their bond.
And the transformative effect they've had on each other.
But what about Lukas? You mentioned earlier that his journey might be about something more than control.
Do I still feel that way?
I think so. If Scarlett's inward dives symbolize confronting her past, then Lucas's journey is about learning to let go.
Okay, I see what you mean.
He's so disciplined and focused on his goals that he forgets to enjoy the moment.
To embrace the messiness of life and love.
Exactly.
It's like his control is a defense mechanism.
To avoid confronting his own vulnerabilities.
And I think that's where Penn challenges him.
Yeah, she represents freedom and spontaneity.
A willingness to embrace the unknown.
And even though their relationship doesn't work out,
Right.
she forces him to confront the limitations of his rigid approach to life.
She makes him question if control is really the key to happiness.
Or if maybe there's something to be said for letting go.
And embracing the unexpected.
Now, speaking of unexpected, did you notice all the symbolism Hazelwood uses in the story?
Oh yeah, there's so much to unpack.
Like
Yeah,
the water.
the water.
It's not just the setting for the sports, it's also a symbol of cleansing and renewal.
And emotional depth.
It's like every time Scarlett dives in, she's immersing herself in this process of transformation
Washing away the pain of the past.
and emerging stronger.
We're resilient.
And the way Hazelwood describes the pool, the light filtering through the water,
Creating those shimmering patterns.
it's almost as if the pool itself is a character.
A silent witness to their struggles and triumph.
And then there's the contrast between the controlled environment of the pool and the chaos of their personal lives.
Like she's showing us that no matter how hard we try, we can't control everything.
Right, life is messy and unpredictable.
And sometimes the best we can do is learn to navigate the waves.
I love that analogy.
Me too.
It perfectly captures the essence of deep end.
It's about finding your footing.
Learning to swim even when the currents are strong.
And the depths are unknown.
And sometimes it's about finding someone to share the journey with.
Someone who can help you stay afloat.
So we've talked about control, vulnerabilities, healing. But what about love? How does Hazelwood portray love in Deep End?
Well, I think she shows us that love is more than just passion or shared interests. It's about seeing someone truly seeing them flaws and all, and choosing to love them anyway.
It's about supporting their dreams and challenging them to grow.
And being there for them when they fall.
It's also about accepting that love doesn't always fit into neat little boxes.
Sometimes it's messy and complicated and unconventional.
Like Scarlett and Lukas.
Yeah, exactly.
They definitely don't follow the typical romance script.
But their connection is undeniable.
And it's because they embrace their differences.
Their unique desires and vulnerabilities.
That they're able to create something truly special.
A relationship that defies expectations.
And transcends the boundaries of traditional romance.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
It reminds me of something you said earlier about Deep End being more than just a romance novel.
Right? It's a story that delves into deeper themes. It challenges societal norms and encourages us to think critically about relationships and consent.
And the pursuit of our own desires.
It's a story that stays with you.
Long after you finish the last page.
Leaving you with a renewed appreciation for human connection. It's funny how Stanford almost feels like its own character in the book.
Oh, totally.
It's not just a setting. It's this pressure cooker that really highlights those themes of ambition and competition.
Yeah, the constant need to prove yourself.
Exactly. And for Scarlett, it pushes her to confront her fears. But it also makes it harder for her to just be herself.
To relax.
Yeah.
And for Lukas, it's like the perfect environment to thrive. He's disciplined, driven, surrounded by people who push him.
But it also kind of reinforces his need for control.
Right, he always has to have a plan.
Like Stanford magnifies their strengths and weaknesses.
And forces them to make choices about who they want to be.
Both at Stanford and beyond.
Speaking of choices, I think it's important to talk about how Hazelwood portrays female friendship.
Yeah.
The relationship between Scarlett and Penn is so complex.
It really is.
They're close, but there's also rivalry and resentment.
Like when Penn suggests Scarlett sleep with Lukas,
Right.
it's partly to help her friend, but also it's about Penn's own feelings for Lukas.
And her need for control.
Exactly.
And when Scarlett and Lukas do get together, it creates so much tension.
Penn feels betrayed.
Yeah, she lashes out at Scarlett.
It's a raw moment.
It shows how even the strongest friendships can be tested.
But what's beautiful is that their friendship survives.
They communicate and forgive each other.
It's a testament to the power of female friendship.
It really is.
And it shows how important communication is. Even in the closest friendships, there will be conflict.
And it's how you handle those challenges that matters.
Exactly.
You know, we've talked a lot about Scarlett and Lukas, but I think we should talk about Penn.
Yes, Penn's journey is important too.
She goes through so much.
The doping scandal, the heartbreak with Lukas.
Figuring out what she wants in life.
She's a complex character.
She's independent and adventurous.
Unafraid to challenge norms.
Remember when she confronts Lukas about his controlling behavior?
Oh, yeah.
She's not afraid to speak her mind.
And that's what makes her so compelling. She represents a different kind of strength.
A way to finding happiness.
She doesn't need to fit into anyone's mold.
She makes her own path.
Even if it means making mistakes.
And she does make mistakes.
But that's part of what makes her relatable.
She's flawed, but she's also loyal and compassionate.
Ultimately, she's on a journey of self-discovery.
Just like Scarlett and Lukas.
And I think Hazelwood's message through Penn is, it's okay to not have all the answers.
To question the rules.
And to prioritize your own happiness.
And sometimes that means walking away from relationships.
Even if it hurts.
It's about choosing yourself.
Exactly. Penn chooses to break free from those expectations.
She embraces the unknown.
She trusts that she'll find her own way.
It's inspiring.
It really is.
You know, it's interesting how each character represents something different.
Tell me more.
Scarlett represents overcoming trauma.
Okay.
Lukas represents control and vulnerability.
And Penn represents freedom.
Yeah, forging your own path.
It's like Hazelwood is exploring all these different aspects of being human.
The complexities of love and friendship.
The messiness of figuring out who you are.
And she does it all with wit and intelligence.
And a healthy dose of romance.
Who doesn't love a good slow burn romance?
With a little bit of BDSM.
Exactly.
But what really sets Deep End apart is the character development, the thought-provoking questions it raises.
About relationships and happiness.
The book that stays with you.
Well, I think we've officially taken a deep dive. Any final thoughts?
Just this deep end reminds us that even when we're pressured to achieve, there's always room for vulnerability and growth, for embracing who we are and finding love in unexpected places.
I love that.
Me too.
And that wraps up another episode of Bookcast, Bestsellers in Minutes. We hope you enjoyed this deep dives into Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. Remember, you can find more bestsellers in minutes on future episodes. Until then, happy reading.